Hey everyone, welcome to my new weekly show that I'm going to be doing every Monday on my own personal channel, and I'm also going to be showing it on a community channel that I was invited to, which I'll leave the link in the description so you can go and check them out. Welcome to the Slow Roll. I'm going to be talking about the Star City games from the last weekend, also Pro Tours Grand Prix from the last weekend too. Also FNM experiences and stuff like that. And right now, since we're in the spoiler season for Return to Ravnica, my extra segment that I have that I'm going to be doing on the Return to Ravnica spoilers that we're getting every week. So I'll see you guys in the spoiler section. I'm going to be doing that first. So let's get to it. Alright, so the first of our spoilers, I'm going to go with Jace, Architect of Thought. So, 2 and 2 blue, 4 loyalty. It's pretty good already. It's +1. A lot of people feel it's lackluster at protecting him. I think it's pretty decent, actually. I mean, all +1s and all creatures your opponents control that attack next turn get -1/-0. It's not terrible. It's going to be really good against like the token decks early and stuff. But I don't know how often it's actually going to get used, because Ultimate isn't something that's just going to like break the game. He's mostly going to be played more for utility, I think, for his -2, for his mini Factor Fictions. But I mean, I can definitely see him +1ing and kind of negating a lot of your opponent's damage for the next turn. So I think he's definitely going to see play. A lot of people are naysaying him and stuff, but I definitely think he's going to be really awesome. So another one from. I'm just going to go through the rares first. I'll save the rest of them for later, maybe. Like, most of them aren't that interesting. I'll point out like the commons and uncommons that I find that are really good. So the next rare that we have right now is called Pack Rat. Pretty interesting name. Yeah, I know. So it's a 2-mana, like, Relentless Rats, basically. But instead of being able to play any number, you can tap 2 in a black and discard a card to get a token of it. So, I mean, it's not bad. I don't think it's going to see any constructed play, at least not in competitive decks. I can't really speak for like casual style decks, because those aren't really my thing. So the next one, this one just came out today, I believe, when I recorded this, in Guild Feud. 6-mana enchantment. 6-mana red enchantment, wall of text, as most of them are. I don't have these all memorized yet, so I've got to cheat a little bit. Beginning of your upkeep, target opponent reveals the top 3 cards of his or her library. May put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield, then puts the rest in his or her graveyard. You do the same with the top 3 cards of your library. If 2 creatures are put onto the battlefield this way, those creatures fight each other. I don't know what deck would ever play this card. Maybe, you know what, I actually just don't know. It's one of those wacky, red, expensive enchantments that just don't go anywhere. So there's that one. The first uncommon I want to talk about is Gutter Snipe. 2 in a red, 2/2 goblin. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. For games for like EDH, and if you just like enjoy playing multiplayer in general, this card's going to be really, really awesome. Maybe constructed play if there's like a fast mana system that they put out, like if they make some sort of really decent ritual. I can see it becoming like the Pyromancer Ascension of the deck and stuff, but a little bit too easy to remove the Pyromancer. But I mean, it's a card that actually definitely has potential for there to be a combo deck in Standard. Next, moving on to one of the breakout rares, I believe that's going to be in the set, Mizzium Mortars. Unfortunately, it's only a sorcery, but 1 in red, 4 damage to target creature an opponent controls, and then it has the instant mechanic of Overload. So for 6 mana, you can deal 4 damage to each creature that they control. So it's basically, it costs 1 more to do that than Miracling a Bonfire for it, but it gives you more options than Bonfire does. So I think it's going to see play like side by side with Bonfire in those decks. Street Spasm is basically just a mini Mizzium Wars. I don't think it's quite as good. Next in green we have Deadbridge Goliath, which is one of the promo ones for something, I don't remember what it is. But it's 4 mana, it's a 5/5, it's got Scavenge for 6. Constructed, I don't think it's really going to go anywhere. It's tough to say though, because it is a 5/5 for 4. And right now it looks like 5 is the magical number of where you want your high-end creatures to be so that they don't die to Mizium Mortars. That's where I'm seeing this format go, and also the one gold card gives +4/-4. So I think having 5 toughness is going to be very important in this upcoming standard season. Scavenge, it's an awesome mechanic, but I don't think Deadbridge Goliath is going to see much play. Death's Presence, 6 mana enchantment. Whenever a creature you control dies, you get to put X +1/+1 counters on target creature where X is its power. Big ol' wacky enchantment that's not going to go anywhere constructed, really. I can definitely see it being in a commander deck, like a Jared deck based off the Lich Lord for the Golgari, the new guild leader. Definitely something of interest in there. This next creature, it's a common that I believe is going to make definitely some splashes in constructed. Gate Creeper Vine, it's 1 and a green. It's an 0/2 with Defender. But when it comes into play, you can search your library for a basic land or a gate card and put it into your hand. Gates we'll get to in a little bit, and I really like them. Next we have a big old green fatty mythic. World Spine Worm. It's 8 and 3 green. It's a 15/15 trample. So it's big alright. And when it dies, you put 3 5/5s green worms into play. So it's a super worm coil almost. When it is put into a graveyard from anywhere you shuffled in its owner's library, that might have something to do with the lol troll, as people are calling it, that I'll get to later. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I think it might be too much of a liability having it in your deck, but we'll see when the time comes around. So we're already into multicolor, and one of my favorite cards of this set is the first one in the multicolor section. Abrupt Decay. Green and a black, instant, can't be countered, and destroy target non-land permanent with converted mana cost 3 or less. This card will definitely be a staple in Legacy bug lists for the next ever. It basically just replaces Maelstrom Pulse for that deck. It doesn't hit everything, but that's not really a big issue, because hitting tokens is going to matter because that deck plays Pernicious Deed and stuff. So I think it's going to see the nod over that. And the best thing about it is it costs 2 mana and it can't be spell snared. That's going to be huge. I think they're putting in the deck as a way for the bug list to do a little bit better against the Rug Delver lists and stuff. But it will definitely see play in Legacy. I can guarantee you that. Next one is Archon of the Triumvirate. 7 mana, 4/5 flying. Whenever it attacks, you get to detain up to 2 targeted non-land permanents. Detain, it's basically the keyword for arrest now. It can't attack, can't block, and it can't activate its abilities. So it has 5 toughness, but it costs 7 mana. So I think instead of Archon of the Triumvirate, if you want a 7 mana blue-white fatty, you should probably go with Drogskull Reaver. It's a 3/5 lifelink and double strike, so it helps you survive longer. And whenever you gain life, you get to draw a card. It's not bad. But I think Archon of the Triumvirate is just going to be overshadowed by Drogskull Reaver in the 7 mana blue-white slot. Next is Augur Spree. That's the card I was talking about. A red and a black, excuse me. Instant, target creature goes +4/-4. So yet again, we see like 5 toughness is probably going to be like the important thing. Again, if you have like a 5 toughness creature out and you get to attack and they don't block, you can deal them an extra 4 if you really want to. I can see that happening a little bit in limited. It's definitely going to be an all-star unlimited at a common rarity. I think I might have to go Rakdos at the pre-release just for the Augur Sprees that I might open. So next we're moving on to Azorius Charm, the first one of the Charm cycle. This one, you get to give all your creatures lifelink, draw a card, or you get to put an attacking or blocking creature on top of its owner's library. I believe the third ability is going to be the one that's used the most, obviously. It can cycle, which isn't bad either. It's not the best one on it, obviously, but I believe in the band like Thragtusk's lists, the first ability is going to be like game breaking for a lot of the time. Next we have Carnival Hellsteed. 6 mana, 5/4, first strike haste. Not terrible. Not quite rare though. I mean, well, maybe it is actually rare because of the first strike and haste. Also has Unleash, which you get to put into play with a +1/+1 counter, but it can't block. I think it costs a little bit too much to be able to be considered a finisher. Like the last time we had a creature like this, it was Demigod of Revenge, which was 5/5 flying, and it returned all copies. Or 5/4 flying, sorry. But I mean, it definitely has possibilities to it. You know what I mean? Collective Blessing, another 6 mana enchantment. This one is just a triple Gaia's Blessing or Glorious Anthem, whichever. No, Gaia's Blessing is a totally different card. Sorry, but it's just an enchantment, and all it does is gives your creatures +3/+3. I mean, sure. I mean, I guess it'll be playing like Commander or something like that. But in Constructed, like for Standard and stuff, it's just not going to see play. Next we have Corpsejack Mangler, 4 mana, 4/4. So it's not terrible. It's like decent. If one or more +1/+1 counters be placed on a creature you control, it gets twice as many. I mean, it's probably not worth having it in your deck, to be honest. I can't really see it going anywhere. So the next one we have is Dreadbore. I like this card a lot. Red and black sorcery, destroy target creature or planeswalker. Terminate was a common. It was instant speed and it destroyed target creature and can't be regenerated. So obviously Wizards is trying to push regeneration still. And it's the first card, I believe, that actually says destroy target planeswalker on it. It certainly has the ability to become a big player in Constructed and Standard. And sorry about that. And I don't really want to say modern, but maybe for like the Jund mirrors, where like it's really important who lands the first Liliana of the Veil. Maybe it might be good in that. I'm not sure. Abrupt Decay is actually probably just better now that I think about that. But I mean, it's not bad. I think it should probably be a common or it should be an uncommon over rare, because it is sorcery speed. If it was instant speed, I could definitely see it being rare, but it is only sorcery speed. So the next one that I want to go on to is Dreg Mangler. Now this one's also promo. I don't remember what for again, but it is a 3 mana 3/3 haste, so it's not terrible. It's playable. It is a zombie for the zombie deck, and well, it has Scavenge for only 5 mana, so it is a bit expensive, but it's not completely dead when it's dead, you know, because of the Scavenge later on. Goblin Electromancer. Instant and sorceries you play cost 1 less. I don't think it's really going to be that good enough, to be honest. Grizzly Salvage is going to be one of those commons that's probably going to be like 50 cents, like Delver Secrets and stuff. It's instant speed, green and black, and you basically get to impulse the top 5. Get a creature or a land, you put it into your hand, you put the rest into your yard. So this is definitely going to see play in something. Havoc Festival, 6 mana enchantment again. Wizards, stop making 6 mana enchantments. They're bad. Players can't gain life at the beginning of each player's upkeep. That player loses half of his or her life rounded up. I don't know what deck would ever play this. It costs 6 mana, so you can't really afford to play it in an aggro deck, and it makes you lose half your life too, so you can't afford to play it in a control deck either. And it doesn't do anything for mid-range, so it's not going to see play. Next rare we have is Hypersonic Dragon, 5 mana, 4/4 flying haste. So it's pretty decent, and you may cast our spells as though they had flash. It's got a very interesting ability. Is it as good as Thundermaw Hellkite? Probably not. But then again, it is a slot that can share with Thundermaw, depending on like what the meta looks like. It might actually just be slightly better than Thundermaw, but it depends. Next we have Asperia's Supreme Judge, 6 mana, 6/4 flying. Whenever a creature attacks you or planeswalker you control, you may draw a card. I think, honestly, the 4 toughness on it is going to kill it from this card. This card isn't going to see play because of that, because it dies to too much in the format. That it's just not going to be strong enough. If it was like a 6/5 or a 5/5, I could say they might see some play. But being a 6/4, I don't think it will. So next we have Izzet Charm, the best of the charm cycle that we've seen so far. You get to Spell Pierce something, or Shock something, or you get to Faithless Looting. It's probably the best one so far to Snapcaster Mage, probably going to be the best one to Snapcaster Mage, period. Gives you a lot of options, and it's awesome. It's just awesome. This one's going to see play in like if you're playing blue-red, you're going to be playing like 4 charms probably. Next we have Jared, Golgari Lichlord. We've known this from the dual deck, so I'm going to make this one quick. 4 mana, 2/2, +1/+1 for each creature in your graveyard. Get big, but its main ability is going to be sacrificing a creature and then making each other player lose life. That's going to be like the main thing for Commander and stuff. And then you can also return it to your hand. So in Commander, you can just actually let it go to the graveyard and then get it back. Let's see here. Lotleth Troll, or LOL Troll as I've been seeing it. Green and black, 2/1 trample. It's alright. Discard a creature card to put a +1/+1 counter on it, and it's got regenerate for a single black. This card's definitely going to be making waves. It's probably going to be the Putrid Leech of the Jund deck, to be quite honest. I like this card a lot. I wish I would have pre-ordered them earlier, but I think I'm just going to like open them and trade for them and stuff. So next we have Laya of Sky Knight. I like this card a lot. It's a 3 mana, 3/1 with flying. A little bit weak, but when it comes into play, you get to detain target non-land permanent, sorry. You can't detain lands because that'd probably be a little bit too good. But yeah, it works great with Restoration Angel. You just get to like keep your opponent like tapped down for a little bit. It's going to be a very important card. It's going to be like almost as good as Nighthawk, I want to say, in Limited. Almost as good, because it's like impossible to be as good as Nighthawk. So next one we have Niv Mizzet, Draco Genius. It's basically old Niv Mizzet, but the abilities are reversed. Instead of every time he deals damage, you draw a card. No, every time you draw a card, he deals 1 damage. It's the reverse of that. Every time you deal damage, you get to draw a card. So it's not nearly as strong, but I mean it's still alright. So Rakdos' return. I could probably go on for quite a while on this card alone, but this is my favorite mythic out of the set so far, to be quite honest. X black-red sorcery deals X damage to target player, and they discard X cards. If control's going to be a thing, this is going to be the card that's going to break those games open. Whoever gets to cast this for their opponent's hand first is going to win without a doubt. It's going to be the biggest blowout ever. So this is definitely a card to watch out for. It's already hit like $10-15 where I've seen it mostly, and I think it actually has quite a high ceiling on it because of that. So next we have Selesnya Charm, target creature +2/+2 and trample. Exile target creature with power 5 or greater, or you get to put a 2/2 Vigilance Knight into play. I mean, it's still good. The token ability is really awesome because it is still instant speed. But it's not as good as the Izzet, obviously, and it's probably slightly better than the Azorius Charm, but I think the Azorius Charm is going to see a little bit more play. Because, I don't know, exiling a creature with power 5 or greater is nice, but they've already got that creature out. It's probably going to be Thragtusk, so it's probably already done what it's needed to do, and they're going to get a 3/3. Next we have Slaughter Games, can't be countered, and it's a Cranial Extraction that can't be countered, which just seems to be on the thing right now where they don't like counters at all. My one friend thinks that means that they're probably going to reprint a very strong counterspell, like maybe Counterspell. I don't think they're going to reprint the Counterspell, but knowing Wizards, you can't really predict anything. But yeah, it's going to be alright. I mean, it's definitely one of those cards like Surgical Extraction where people are just going like people that are on a lower level, they're gonna bring them in, or they're gonna have a main deck, and they're just gonna cast them, and then they're gonna win a few games because their opponent had like 3 copies of that card in their hand and they just lucked out on it. But really, like, bringing it in against like every deck is just a trap. You want it against like combo style decks. So I think if combo's ever going to be a deck, there needs to not be Surgical Extraction, Cranial Extraction, Slaughter games. Those need to go out of the format for a little bit. But it doesn't seem like we're just going to let that happen. Supreme Verdict, 1, 2 white, and a blue. Can't be countered, destroy all creatures. Wow. We have an uncounterable Wrath of God. I like me some Wrath of Gods, and this one really tickles my fancy at being blue and white. So the next card we have is the second Planeswalker of the set, Vraska the Unseen. I know a lot of people are going crazy over this card. It's like pre-selling for like $40 in Star City. It's good, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's as good as a lot of people are making it out to be. Like, sure, making a creature that whenever it hits it dies, that's alright. It comes into play. It does come into play with 6 loyalty, which is a high number, but it depends a lot on the format of what the standard metagame is going to look like. The -3 destroying a non-land permanent is probably going to be the best ability on it, to be quite honest. And I think it's going to go the way of Karn. Like, it's pre-ordering like super high, and yeah, its ultimate basically ends the game. But like, Karn at least was colorless, and he went up by +4. So like, its ultimate is you put 3/1/1s into play. And 3/1/1s, yeah, if they hit you, you win the game. But if your opponent only needs to tap like 3 mana, they don't need to do much to stop it. And I just don't think it's going to be that good, to be honest. Like, its -3 is where it's at. It's going to be it's going to be like a more expensive Maelstrom Pulse kind of thing. It's still decent, but I would not pick them up at $40. I would trade. To be quite honest, if there wasn't so much focus on value, I would trade these blindly for Jace's. Like, just straight up, I'll trade you a Vraska for a Jace. Like, I think Jace is going to go more places. But anyway, the next one we have is Wayfaring Temple. 3 mana, power and toughness equal to the number of creatures you control, and when it deals combat damage to a player, you get to populate. Back in my day, a creature with power and toughness equal to the number of creatures you control cost 6 mana. It was called Beast of Burden, and it didn't even have an upside. But then again, populate, not sure how good it's going to be yet. It's an iffy card. But now we get to move on to the hybrid cards, which we have 3 of the 1 mana hybrid cycles. I believe it's going to be a cycle. So the first one is Dryad Militant, green-white hybrid, 2/1. If an instant or sorcery card we put in a graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. These guys, they knew Delver was going to be good. They knew Snapcaster was going to be good. They printed this to fight it, and it's going to do an excellent job in those matchups. But then again, it does have 1 toughness, but it also does only cost 1 mana. It murders Thought Scour. Like, it's definitely a very, very interesting card. Next one is my second favorite, Judge's Familiar, 1/1 flying for 1 mana in blue or white. That's awesome. And it's got Spiketail Hatchling. You get to counter an instant or sorcery. You just get this 4 spike an instant or sorcery if you sacrifice it. That's awesome. It's my favorite one. I'm going to be trying to get a plicit of foils as fast as possible. The next one, Rakdos Shred Freak. I'm going in like alphabetical order here. Rakdos Shred Freak. It's 2 red-black hybrids for a 2/1 with haste. Not that impressive, but the big thing about it is that it's a human, and the reason that's important is because of Falcon Wrath Aristocrat. So like Jun Zombies is going to really, really want this card, even though it's not a zombie, because it works so incredibly well with Falcon Wrath Aristocrat. The next one's my favorite, Slitherhead. 1 mana, 1/1, sure. Scavenge for 0. That's the important one. It only gives a +1/+1 counter, but it is a zombie, and scavenge cost is 0. The opportunity cost on this card is so incredibly low. It's absolutely awesome. It works so well with Lol Troll. You discard it, gets a +1/+1 counter, and then you scavenge it the next turn. You're attacking on turn 3 for like probably 6 damage because of your turn 1 Diregraph Ghoul or Gravecrawler. That's insane. So, our only artifact so far is Chromatic Lantern. 3 mana, lands you control have Birds of Paradise, and then you can tap it for a mana of any color. That's going to be awesome. If there's a 5-color control deck, this is going to be one of the cornerstone cards of that deck. So, next we have the Gates, which are a new land type. Each guild's going to have a gate, and each gate comes into play tapped, and it can add mana of either of the colors of the guild. So we're going to have a full 10 cycle of this, and my favorite thing is that every 2-color combination is going to be able to play 3 dual lands for the next year. That's going to be some incredibly good mana fixing. We also have the shock lands back. I probably shouldn't need to even say anything about how good these lands are, but they're awesome. I'm so glad they're back. I'm not sure if we're going to have a cycle of special lands. I think we are. I believe in the name of Number Crunch. There was 4 open slots left in the lands, and one of them is not one of those 4 open slots. The 5th one is Grove of the Guardian. 3 green-white, tap it, and tap 2 untapped creatures you control and sacrifice it. Huge cost, but you put an 8/8 green and white elemental creature token with vigilance onto the battlefield. I mean, it could be good, it could be really bad. I mean, if Delver decks do continue to be a thing and they're playing on Summon over Vapor Snag, this card's going to be impossible to play. It just is, because they're just going to like snag it, and now you're down like 8 cards. So I don't think this land's really going to go anywhere. Next we have, the last one that we have is Transguild Promenade. It's Rupture Spire. I mean, Rupture Spire was good, and Rupture Spire is still going to be good, and I think it's going to be, I'm not sure, yeah, this is probably just slightly better than Shimmering Grotto for decks. It slows you down for 1 turn, rather than every turn you want to use it for colored mana. So, it's definitely a good trade-off. It does come into play tapped, though. I'm pretty sure Shimmering Grotto comes into play on tap for colorless right away. But I think Transguild Promenade it might see a little bit of play. So that's what we've got so far. I'm going to have a little attachment at the end of this section for the next couple of cards that are spoiled, because it's 11 o'clock at night right now. So when those come out, I will be appending that a little bit there. So next we're going to see what just got spoiled. Alright, so the follow-up. So we have 4 new cards right now. The first one's Loxodon Smiter, 3 mana, 4/4, can't be countered. Not big fan of they're making a cycle of all these can't be countered spells, and this one seems pretty good. I mean, it's probably not going to be as high impact as like Loxodon Hierarch was. That card was a beating, but can't be countered, and if your opponent makes you discard it, you get to put it into play instead. So it makes Liliana not quite as good, but I have to figure out if that card's going to be good enough against Liliana decks to actually be boarded in. So it can definitely be a role player. The next one we have is a reprint called Syncopate. Originally in Odyssey, it's an X counter spell. It is pretty good, but we're gonna have to see if it's gonna be like good enough to actually play, because counters aren't looking very good right now. Next one we have is Skyline Predator. 6 mana, 3/4 flying flash. I mean, the 4 toughness thing again, so basically if you want to play this, it's probably just better to play Fairy Invaders and save yourself a blue mana, really. But the last one we have that I do like this one, Desecration Demons, 4 mana 6/6 flying, and beginning of each combat, any opponent may sacrifice a creature, and if they do, you have to tap it, but you also get to put +1/+1 counter on it. So it creates this weird tension. Again, it's one of those Punisher cards that generally just aren't typically good. So we're gonna have to see if it's gonna be good enough. It might be good enough for like a Jund mid-range style deck, maybe. It depends. But it is a 4 mana 6/6 flying, which is pretty decent. The closest thing that we have to compare that to was Abyssal Persecutor, but that had a pretty significant downside to it, in that if you didn't kill it, you couldn't win the game. But I mean, it didn't even make much of an impact at all. It was played in a deck that didn't really go anywhere. So I don't know. I do like it, but I'm not as excited about it as Evan Irwin was, as it was his own personal preview card, and I don't think anyone can get nearly as excited as that man over a Magic card. So that's the end of the spoilers for right now. And next I will be talking about this weekend Star City in Oregon. Alright, so the weekend in a quick review. I'm going to start with Friday Night Magic. I decided when I was there to not play the Grixis deck because I didn't think it was actually going to be that good. I did some earlier testing with it, and it was having some mana-based problems and didn't have like enough draw and stuff. So I decided to put that on the back burner, and something that I want to work on when Ravnica comes out, definitely. But I played Blue-White Delver again. I 3-1'd. I got second place. My only loss was to Red-Black Zombies, and game one was a game. I mean, I didn't draw too hot, but it happens, you know. Game two, I was getting pretty close to beating him. It was a pretty close game, and at the end, I managed to actually just Jedi him into like scooping, kind of. It's a really weird story. But I had him on the ropes. I put him down to 4 off of a Golem token and 2 spirits from a Midnight Haunting. I changed my list up quite a bit. It was kind of weird. I had it designed for the mirror match, but no one else there was playing Delver, even though like last week there's like 4 or 5 people that were playing it. But I had him down to 4. I had a spirit token out, and I had a Resto Angel in my hand. He played a Phyrexian Metamorph to copy my spirit token, and the strangest thing was that I knew that he would have a 1/1 spirit, but I think that well, at the time I was thinking, well, if I just focus on make him focus on not having the spirit there anymore, he'd have to make himself a Blood Artist, which was the only other creature he had, and I managed to trick him by playing the Restoration Angel and actually blinking the spirit out so it was no longer there, and he just scooped on the spot because he didn't realize that the angel was still in and stuff, that he could copy the angel. I did have a Vapor Snag though, so he was still dead, but it was a weird play, and I just made him focus on the spirit not being there and me having a 3/4 angel, and like he kind of forgot about his Metamorph, so he just kind of bended in and scooped. But game three was really bad for me. I just didn't draw anything really. It was the best way to describe it. He had 2 Blood Artists out. I was at 10. He had 2 Grave Crawlers and a Growl's Messenger. I didn't have any way to get through and stuff, and I didn't draw any of my purges. So I mean, cut my losses. Second place, not too bad. But moving on to the Star City in I don't remember the exact city name right now. Star City, Portland, yeah, Portland, Oregon. I'm assuming Portland, Oregon. I didn't really check up on that, but I would assume it's Portland, Oregon. And this is a very unique top 16 list that they have. Zero Delver list in the top 16. They did some of the quick questions and stuff, asking some players there. The only like really named player there was Travis Wu, and they were all like remarking on how few Delver lists there were. So I guess it's just not popular in Oregon and stuff. But it was won by Quinn Kennedy playing Black Red Zombies. I've got his list right here, and I mean it's pretty typical. He is running Brimstone Volleys. He's not running Bonfires, which I think is fine. For Blood Artists, he's only playing 3 Cavernous Souls, but I don't know. I'm a fan of like playing the full 4, but I guess 3 can be okay if you don't have them or something like that. But nothing terribly special. He does have 2 Mortar Pods in his main, which is interesting. But other than that, Travis Wu is playing Green Summer, I believe it was called, and this is a pretty interesting list. On the site it says Green White Elves, but like in the videos it said Green Summer, I believe it was. But it's 3 Feast and Famine, 4 Palladiumer, 4 Arbor Elf, 4 Pilgrim, 4 Birds, 4 Archdruid, 4 Llanowar Elves, 4 Primeval Titans, a Thragtusk, and 1 Silverheart, and 4 Green Sun Zeniths. And in the board he's got 3 War and Peace, a Craterhoof Behemoth, 2 more Thragtusks, 3 more Silverhearts, 2 Beast Withins, a Crushing Vines, a Malira, and 2 Ghost Quarters. I just kind of want to see a Genesis Wave in this list. I mean, that's basically what the deck is, minus like having like an instant kill. Jet, what are you doing? I'm busy at the moment. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting list. I don't think the trend is going to continue without seeing any Delver lists in the top 16 for next week. Because the week before in Minneapolis, I believe it was, literally, actually half the top 16 was Delver. So it's definitely interesting. There's a Blue-Black Zombies list. 3 Mono Green Infects made top 8. A Wolf Run Ramp made top 8. Oh no, that's 9th. Sorry. But yeah, there were 3 Mono Green Infects in the top 8. So I'm expecting, if your local metagame, if they watch a lot of StarCity, expect to see like Mono Green Infect next week. Expect to see maybe more zombies. Maybe some pod. Maybe some more pod, depending on like what your meta's like. My meta has quite a bit of pod in it, so there's always that. But yeah, I think Mono Green Infect's going to be like a very popular deck next week. I'm definitely going to be preparing for it. So there's that. I'm not going to focus on Legacy. If you want me to talk about Legacy, say so in the comments below. But so that was this weekend in a nutshell. And yeah, I'll see you guys for the next episode of the Slow Roll. Peace out.